to scale up sensitization campaigns about the pandemic with emphasis on preventive measures.
Every Monday, it's a directive. All commanders have what we call morning parade. It's a DPC parade, where the DPC and his other senior officers, OC station, OCID, they brief the personnel in the districts, so they discuss a few things regarding management of police work in the district. So I've just given a directive to all commanders that COVID should be one of the topics to discuss on Monday morning parades of commanders from now until when the country will announce that there is no more COVID. We must support our subordinates. Most of us, we have access to media, social media, we're on TV, we read newspapers, but there are those other lower junior subordinates who can't access all this.
At the immunization exercise, key figures in the force were the first to receive their jabs at the Nakuru-based police headquarters, including the former Inspector General of Police, John Kose Odomel.
Apart from the syringe entering, but as of now, I don't feel anything.
Dorcas Kimono, UBC News.
The Finance Minister, Matia Kasaija, has launched the first private sector development and action plan implementation program semi-annual review at the Conference Hall office of the Prime Minister. The launch is supposed to position the NDP Phase 3 programs for effective and efficient delivery of the results since the shift from sector-based funding to program-based funding to avoid duplication of tasks by government agencies and ministries. Private sector being the driver of Uganda's policy makers, of Uganda's economy, policy makers and planners found it prudent to foster a favorable economic environment that allows micro, small and large enterprises to grow.
The 5-year development plans help to push us closer towards attaining this long-term goal, with each focusing on very specific and realistic medium-term goals. Under the NDP 3, we have set our goal on improving household incomes. Take note of this. We have set our goal on improving household incomes and the quality of life among Ugandans. We have also determined that this is best achieved through sustainable industrialization, inclusive growth, expansion of employment and wealth creation, particularly for our youth. Therefore, our key strategies include: 1, listen to this, enhancing value addition in key growth opportunities. Enhancing value addition in key growth opportunities. You know, we have raw materials, both agricultural, mineral, and the rest of it. We must enhance value addition. 2, strengthening the private sector capacity to drive growth and create jobs. The government is committed to deliver the NDP 3 in full. We have learned lessons from the implementation of NDP 1 and NDP 2. The first of these is that coordination, listen to this, the first of these is that coordination and oversight were not sufficiently strong in these last 2 plans.
Now, the Pakistani community in Uganda has marked their 81 years of independence from India. Pakistan ceased to be part of India in 1940 through the Lahore Resolution, in which the majority Indian Pakistan resolved to have their own country. Pakistan consists some of the leading investors in Uganda, with a chain of factories and construction businesses. Let's take a look.
Zindabad! Uganda! Zindabad! Turkish! Zindabad! The Pakistan community says it is one of the top 10 taxpayers in Uganda.
Chairman, we were number 8 on taxpayers list. I am sure now this must have gone up.
This was disclosed by the Pakistan businessmen during celebrations marking 81 years of their country's independence from India. The celebrations were held at the Pakistan Islamic Republic Consulate in Tinda and officiated by the Minister of State and Cooperatives, Frederick Gumengovi, who urged the Pakistans to invest more resources here.
The resolution was that we want to be independent of the others. So they gave birth to a country, they gave birth to a nation, they gave birth to offsprings. May I congratulate you, offsprings of that 1940 resolution, and wish you all the best. I say this for God and my country.
The Pakistan consular in Uganda, Lukia Nakadama, assured the Asian community in Uganda of a good investments environment in Uganda and promised them more support, especially now that the Pakistan government has confirmed her as the consular.
23rd March is a special day of the March significance, and as time passes, the necessity of highlighting the importance of this momentous and vital day gets more significant. As Pakistanis, you need to generate the spirit that was present in the hearts of the Muslims of the subcontinent on that fateful 23rd March 1940.
Nakadama disclosed that Pakistan nationals have for a long time been good development partners in Uganda with a chain of investments, mainly in the apparel manufacturing and associated business.
You visit the ministry, you invest, and majorly would prefer if you invested in value addition, pharmaceuticals, all these mining, all these are broad opportunities in this country. And I would like to assure you that the Ministry of Trade, Cooperatives and Industry is always willing to help you in your ventures.
The event attracted leading Pakistan investors in Uganda who pledged more support to the development of Uganda.
Almighty Allah, may you continue doing this.
Now, the disgruntled GULU city councillors are demanding for 320 million shillings in allowances. The interim GULU city mayor, George Labeja, has acknowledged the debt accrued over a period of 1 year. Labeja says the demand to pay is timely since their term of office is ending on the 27th of May 2021. However, the process for payment commences next Monday on the 29th of March. The piled pressure followed a peaceful demonstration by 106 councillors who stormed the city council office and locked the officials in.
When there are problems, you don't come and arrest me now. If you arrest all of us to take us there, you are our children, everybody. We know that what we did here, it was the problem that they failed to respond to us.
Following Monday's demonstration that led to the closure of the GULU City Council offices by councillors, the city leadership, led by the mayor, George Labeja, has agreed to pay 320 million shillings to the councillors.
The clerk to council, the speaker will sit and compute and see how the accounting officer will see a modality how they are going to pay them without this matter taken to court. That is what we are going to do.
Labeja, in a meeting with the town clerk Edward Chiwanuka, acknowledged that councillors have not been paid their sitting allowances. The unprecedented pressure mounted on the city authority left the leadership with no option but to expedite the process of paying off the councillors. But what do the councillors say about the expressed will to settle their accumulated arrears next week?
The move we are taking right now, there's some positive part of it. So at least today I'm satisfied, and we are waiting for next Wednesday when we come back again for the meeting.
But according to the meeting today with the chairman, our chairman, I said the mayor, which he has got from the minister, is a bit information which a bit at least can put us somewhere.
Each councillor is entitled to 600,000 shillings per full council meeting. This means each councillor, if paid, will earn a minimum of 7.2 million shillings.
You want to take us like fools. We have been coming to you here, you are dodging us. Until today we are hearing that the minister is saying he doesn't know what you are doing.
I am not satisfied with your response because it looks like as a technical person you're buying time. We are left with only 1 month in office.
The mayor has raised complaints that due to the efforts of the COVID-19, the local revenue collection was not much and may affect the individual amount each councillor will receive.
The local revenue dropped in 2019-2020 budget. That means the rate is going to come down because councillors are always paid 20% of the local revenue collected.
However, some councillors are demanding that the Minister of the Local Government should be slapped with a compensation fine of disrupting their tenure of office. GULU municipality had 4 divisions of Badig and Laibi, which have been combined to form 1 division in the new GULU city, while Peche and Laro have also been combined. The city is expected to become operational on the 1st of July 2021, 1 year after it came into effect.
And as Uganda joins the rest of the world to commemorate Water Week, there is hope that the country will reach UN safe water coverage of 100% by 2030. This is visibly seen by the increasing number of water works across the country, such as the Katosi project and drilling of boreholes by non-governmental organizations.
Government set a target in 2018 for safe water coverage to move from 70% to 90% by 2020 with the aid of partners like Nile Humanitarian Development Agency. Uganda's dream to attain the set target of 90% is almost achieved. While commissioning 20 boreholes drilled this year by the Nile Humanitarian Development Agency in Mukono district, the Executive Director, Nile Humanitarian Development Agency, Isachila Rila, wants Ugandans to value wetlands and other water resources.
There is no aspect which can be sustained for purposes of development without water. So the onus is on Ugandans, is on us to make sure that at least every household gets water. UN predicted that in 2030 every household will be having water in the world. But will that be achieved? It will be achieved if you and me, we join together to protect the environment.
Chilarila hailed government for providing a conducive environment that favor non-government organizations to implement programs to meet the development goals of Uganda in general.
To us, this is very important because we are also contributing on the development of this country.
The project coordinator, Nile Humanitarian Development Agency, Ismail Chidia, calls on the community to utilize, safeguard the boreholes and value the water as this year's water theme.
Among the things we do is providing water to the society through establishment of boreholes. Nile Humanitarian Development Agency for this year 2021 has commissioned over 20 boreholes in over 10 districts.
The commissioning of the boreholes is part of the Uganda Water and Environment Week 2021. Residents of Mukono held Nile Humanitarian Development Agency for their humanitarian support.
And on behalf of Kapeke, I would wish to thank Nile Humanitarian Development Agency and Time to Hope German for the donation of this borehole that has been donated to Kapeke.
We are so happy to have a borehole. A borehole is now good. It's going to help so many people who are nearby. Even the people around can now get the water near.
Meanwhile, Uganda has joined the rest of the world to mark the International Day on Tuberculosis. Health experts in the country, however, say tuberculosis still remains a big challenge across the country. At the moment, close to 10,000 people are diagnosed with the disease per year, and Dr. Bruce Chirenga from Lung Institute Mulago attributes this percentage to the low efforts patients put in while undertaking medication. The day here in Uganda has been celebrated and commemorated under the theme, "It's time for Uganda to end TB."
This day is observed worldwide to bring the issue of TB as a disease and TB as a social problem on the agenda and bring it forward. TB is still a very serious disease in Uganda. We estimate that about 88,000 people develop active TB per year in this country, and about 10,000 people die from TB. That's about 10% per year. And Uganda is still on the list of the 30 high burden TB HIV countries in the whole world. If you break that down into a daily problem, about 30 people will die from TB today in this country. And this is a huge, like the moderator inside said, this is a cluster of people dying from TB.
Very delayed starting of medication. Really, at times people wait until they have got so many other complications, and managing medication when they are started on medication in itself becomes a challenge. Every time they're on medication, they don't finish, then they start another medication, they don't finish, and eventually they get multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. But even that also maybe fail to adhere. And of course, tuberculosis is a disease which can kill.
Now, Arua City Management has made justification of value for money audit. This upon completion of a 2.8-kilometer school road at Adora that has been thoroughly evaluated by the government chief valuer. During the supervision of the projects under Uganda Support to Municipal Infrastructure Development Additional Funding Program, members of the technical committee appreciated the city for the proper implementation.
In 2018-2019 financial years, the government of Uganda received additional financing at a tune of $360 million from the World Bank for a 5-year second phase of USMID program in the country. The program has been extended to 11 refugee hosting districts of Ajomani, Moyo, Arua, Isingiro, Kamwenge, Terego, Madiokolo, Obongi and Lamo. USMID program targets to strengthen these local governments' cope with the refugee influx through providing rehabilitation and construction of infrastructure and development of physical development plans. While inspecting the 2.8-kilometer school and Adroa roads that cost 21 billion shillings, Commissioner for Urban Development in the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Walter Pade Joseph said, despite challenges imposed by COVID-19 pandemic, the so far USMID project in Arua City is encouraging.
But the ideas that we are getting from this program should actually act like a seed to be able to do many other things, including construction of roads.
Program coordinator for USMID, Dr. Isaac Motenyo, said USMID project is not meant to improve infrastructure alone, but to also strengthen institutional capacities of the municipalities and cities.
Procurement has been a nightmare because the way we approach procurement as entities, if we are not very careful, it brings a lot of complaints.
The program faces a challenge of right-of-way, which affected USMID project implementation process.
For instance, the roads you have prioritized now, let acquisition of right-of-way commence as soon as possible, so that by the time we say we are now starting with the project, we have got these issues of right-of-way sorted out.
Leaders of Arua City, however, said they have learned a lot from supervision by the PTC for their improvement in the next project implementation.
Where we have
visible PPP engagements. It's through this capacity building and even the motivation to take some risks.
On the wrong political side and the positive politicians, they understood that sincerely in OSMID program, there is no competencies.
The 21 billion shilling school and Adrowa roads were contracted in 2018 by China Railway's 7th Group Construction Company, with Joada Limited providing the consultancy service at 930 million shillings. Construction of the two roads, which was affected by coronavirus pandemic last year, is expected to be complete by June this year.
Now the family division of the High Court in Machindia has fixed 26 March to decide on where the fallen city lawyer Bob Kasango should be buried. This after Justice Lydia Mugambe concluded with the hearing of the case, which was filed by Nice Kasango, the wife to the late, against her mother-in-law Rosie Kabise, who preferred the deceased to be buried at the paternal site.
Following the misunderstandings between Naisi Kasango Bitarabeho, the wife to the deceased, and Kasango's family, to where his body should be buried, this prompted Bitarabeho Kasango to lodge a case in courts of law. In filing this case before High Court Family Division in Machindia, Naisi Kasango Bitarabeho wanted court to permit her to bury her husband in Kabarore district, which is contrary to the deceased's family. The first witness to testify was Nice Kasango Bitarabeho, the wife to the deceased Bobo Kasango. In her evidence, Nice Kasango informed the court on how they had allocated land in Fort Potro where to bury the deceased, whereas her mother-in-law Rosie Kibese wanted to bury him in Tororo district. Bitarabeho added that before the death of Kasango, the late had denounced his relatives from Tororo's side following the reported plans to kill him when he was still young. Nice informed the court that due to the misunderstandings with his Tororo family, Kasango was not even close to his mother, neither his relatives. Even at the wedding at Sheraton Hotel in Kampala in 2000, among the guests who attended the function, she only knew 5 people from the deceased's family. These included one Sam Okero and his wife Florence Okero, their children, and the one Matthew spoke on the behalf of the relatives from the mother's family. Rosie Kabese, the mother to the deceased Kasango, in testifying told court that the late Kasango was born in Busoga to a Musoga man, Livingston Richard Kasimo, and was raised by his stepfather Okero Bonventure, who is a Japadora. Kibese also added that the late Bob Kasango sent her money to buy land in Tororo district, which he did with the intention of getting buried in Tororo, where his grandfathers were buried. However, during cross-examination, Rosie Kibese failed to convince court with any documents showing purchase of the said land in question. The third witness to testify was Esau Michael Opilu, who asked court not to allow the deceased to be buried at the in-laws' place, citing it is against their traditional values and norms of the Japadora. The case, which was presided over by Justice Lydia Mugambe after listening to both sides' submissions, set 26 March 2020 to deliver a ruling in this matter. Sam Okero, brother of the deceased Bob Kasango, talking to the media after court, said what they need is justice from this court.
Because the biggest challenge is unity, and it's what I appeal for: unity, unity, unity all over.
Bob Kasango, who succumbed to heart-related complications in Luzla government prison, was serving a sentence of 6 years after being convicted on charges of fraud, corruption, among other charges. For now, the deceased body Bob Kasango is still under custody, with April's funeral services awaiting for court ruling. Deborah Namamonde, UBC News.
A gardener at State House Nakasero has been remanded for allegedly stealing 30 million shillings, money meant to buy food for State House employees. Ismail Chivumbi was on Wednesday afternoon arraigned before the Buganda Road Court Grade 1 Magistrate Marion Mangeni for plea taking and pleaded not guilty to the alleged offence. Now, Chivumbi, who was set with 2 sureties to appear for bail, was remanded was however remanded to Chitalia government prison until the April of 6th, 2021. According to prosecution, the said money was meant to buy food for employees at Nakasero and Okelo House State Lodge for a week. However, Shivumbi went ahead to buy food on credit from suppliers, which prompted them to storm State House.
Joshua is in court.
John Paul.
With that, we take a quick break. We return with more details. This is News Tonight.
No one should stop you from finishing what's yours. That's why MTN gives you data bundles that don't expire. Load MTN Freedom Bundles using My MTN app and enjoy the freedom to finish your data bundles.
MTN.
Kapo, you seem to be in a hurry. Where are you going to?
I'm gonna pay URA visit.
But you can access URA online. Why pay a visit?
To know more about the Kakasa business solutions, namely digital tracking solution, the voluntary disclosure program and electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solution, which have turned my business around. You know I need to be on top of my game to protect my empire. If you know, you know.
I too need to know what Kapo knows.
Kakasa, be sure you are in charge of your business. Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
Today tastes like a new tradition, like an old favorite. Tastes like all hands on deck and all eyes on the prize. Today tastes like a piece of the action. And it never tasted this good.
Kwatesimu! For the first time in Uganda, you can pay in installments and own a smartphone instantly. Get to own the Samsung A3 Core, Samsung A01 or Samsung A11 and pay back in either daily, weekly or monthly installments for a period of a year. To check if you're eligible for the offer, dial *284*49# today. You also enjoy free 500 MB on the purchased phone every month for the entire loan repayment period. Ha! Uganda nyuma! Airtel, the smartphone network, in proud partnership with MasterCard, Samsung and Asante Financial Services.
That's their way of stopping HIV. What about you?
payments for National Drug Authority services are made through designated bank accounts. National Drug Authority. Safe drugs, save lives.
Leaders who care create a good learning environment.
Because a good school equals a better life.
Raising voices.
CNUC Uganda Limited, in partnership with Bunyoro Research Agency and Development Organization, BRADO, presents to you the CNUC Q1 National Content Supplier Development A-Conference 2021 under the theme Strengthening Local SMEs for Effective Participation in the Oil and Gas Development Phase in Uganda. Panelists include Mr. Alex Byamkama, National Content Officer, Petroleum Authority of Uganda, Martin Byarhanga, Executive Director of Bunyoro Research Agency and Development Organization, Mr. Matthew Chaligonza, National Content Manager, CNUC Uganda Limited, Engineer Fred Musinguzi, Chairperson of Bunyoro Business Club, Mr. John Walusimbi, Executive Director, Federation of Small and Medium Enterprises in Uganda, Ms. Sylvia Kirabo, Head Marketing and Public Relations, UNBS, and moderated by Mr. Byencha Fred. The event will be live on UBC TV on Thursday, the 25th of March 2021 from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Proudly brought to you by CNUC Uganda Limited in partnership with Bunyoro Research Agency and Development Organization.
Enjoy great value from Airtel with all new My Pakalast combo offers. We have customized especially for you the best deals on minutes, data and SMS with our 3-in-1 My Pakalast combo to give you the best value as you stay in touch with friends and family. To activate My Pakalast voice combo, dial *100 *2 *1# to get started.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Welcome back. Now in business news, Uganda coffee exporters have been urged to utilize the multi-modal transport system on the Central Corridor in order to affordably access international markets. According to Stanley Sendegea, the Managing Director, Uganda Railways Corporation, the rehabilitation of the meter gauge railway in Tanzania and refurbishment of ships have significantly reduced the movement of cargo between the two countries, Uganda and Tanzania. Let's take a look at that.
Coffee stakeholders drawn from Uganda's public and private sector converged in Kampala to discuss issues pertaining to routes and shipping delays. Since time immemorial, coffee has been one of the leading revenue earners for the country. However, over the years, the sector players have endured difficulties in getting their harvest from the farm to the international markets.
Uganda's coffee in Kenya was being stolen with impunity. Government officials, ministers were involved. They would intercept the coffee, take it to the get police to escort it to the warehouse. They offload it from Uganda Coffee Marketing Board bags and load it into Kenya Coffee Board bags.
At the meeting, the Central Corridor, whose gateway is at the port of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, was cited as a better and affordable option not only for coffee but all Uganda's bulk exports and imports.
And of course we are encouraging the movement of cargo through the lake. You know very well that movement over the lake is always cheaper compared to the road. And for economics purposes, I think this is an option some of us should consider. Of course the rehabilitation is coming to an end, so most of the back sections of the tracks somewhere after Dodoma have been actually rehabilitated. The bridges have been rehabilitated.
The journey from Port Bell to Mwanza is just less than 24 hours. So we've cut the time from Dar es Salaam to Kampala we do 4 days. We do 4 days at our best. At our worst, we do 6 days. So that's an advantage. And the pricing is again fairer.
The stakeholders meeting, supported by the Central Corridor Transit Facilitation Agency, comes at a time when regional and international business environment need to be improved after disruptions of freight and logistics in 2020.
We had the COVID pandemic and the lockdown which followed in the first quarter, starting in China, followed by other countries, kept locking down, and that totally disrupted trade.
Uganda approximately exports over 500,000 bags of coffee per month, and according to financial year 2019-2020, Uganda exported 5.3 million bags of coffee, and of these, over 90% of the total coffee exports used cargo trucks as transport means to the coast. Dennis Igoa for UBC News.
And despite gradually recovering from the adverse effects of COVID-19, thousands of workers in the hotel and tourism sectors that stopped working during the mandatory lockdown in March 2020 are still grappling to find stable livelihoods. According to data from the Uganda Hotel Owners Association, over 100,000 workers were still on unpaid leave by December 2020.
I personally was laid off in March, and it's been a year now ever since I was laid off.
It is a year now since COVID-19 effects ravaged Uganda's economy, with some sectors taking a worse blow compared to others.
This is something that was not planned for, was not budgeted for, was not anticipated. So even us as the leaders of the industry, it's a learning curve every single day. We had to learn to go through lockdown. We had to learn to go through the election time. We are now anticipating, God forbid, a second wave, hoping against hope we do not get into that. So we can't plan as we used to because it's a completely new phenomenon.
As the hospitality industry of Uganda regains its momentum from these adverse effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, workers in the tourism-led sector have spoken about their plight.
Now, this means that throughout this period, I have been struggling because I've not been having an income. That means I have shifted from where I was renting to somewhere that I can afford.
I know what it feels to be down and don't have anything to feed. I know how it feels when you are thrown out from the house. I know how it feels you are ashamed in front of your family when you don't have anything to feed them. Honestly, this is what is happening in the tourism sector. People working in our bars, people working in our hotels, immensely people have lost jobs. But why? Because no one is caring. No one has shown concern.
Kennedy has worked 8 years in the industry, while Arthur for 3 years. They both fault the hospitality sector's leaders for underestimating the seriousness of their fate.
If the leaders cannot come out to tell the people responsible that now we had these people who are working for us in this industry, but they no longer get our assistance, or they were our employees, but we cannot sustain them because of the business decline. So how then can we help them? So nobody has come out to echo out that.
To us as the youth in tourism sector, we are trying to call upon the people who are responsible. Okay? Who are responsible? I myself have approached different people in our line ministry. For example, Honorable Chiwanda Suvi. I can say this on record. I have approached him several times. I have called him several times. I wrote him officially, addressing all matters in this sector. Honestly, we have lost jobs, immense jobs.
Uganda has 6,291 hotels, employing more than 273,994 people, directly and indirectly. But the hospitality industry is struggling, following disruption in travel and tourism, making it hard to sustain workers at full capacity.
Everybody knows that most of 2020 we completely closed our doors, so we had virtually no income, and yet our expenses still remain the same. We still had people on the payroll, we still had to pay for utilities, water and electricity, we still had to pay taxes, we still had to service loans. So without any source of revenue, a stimulus package makes sense, and it still does make sense, because even right now, much as the economy has basically opened up, for us in the tourism industry, it's still very different. We are still operating at a fraction of the capacities that we are capable of. We still have SOPs in place. We still have limitations in numbers. We still have hybrid meetings. Instead of having a packed hall, you can only have a hybrid meeting. So there is still a lot of limitations which impact our bottom line, which then impact on our operations.
Laid off workers are now wondering what should be done to get them on the road once again.
I usually quote the president because he has been so inspirational. He says, the problem is the Ngabula. How will the Ngabula be if the fund is out for the respective people, like the bar owners and the hospitality industry, or maybe any other industry that has been affected, much affected during the COVID-19?
To me, I'm saying tourism sector should be helped in the sense that these people should be given money. These hotels should be given money. These safari lodges, casinos and bars should be given money to revive them. So they should not lay off those people, because once they lay off, big number of people become unemployed. It means that's a problem to the country.
The future for hundreds of these hotel workers is still uncertain. Many have relocated up country where the cost of living is affordable as they chart a way forward. But most of those in the central business district, town councils and cities like Arthur and Kennedy are appealing to leaders in the tourism sector to consider their plight and come to their rescue. Wadulo Makanold, Nsamba Juma, UBC News.
And the poor state of the MUTUKULA border parking lot is causing alarm within the business community there. The truck drivers who frequently use the parking lot have raised concern over the safety of their trucks and cargo due to the dilapidated state of the facility.
Truck drivers plying the central corridor route using the MUTUKULA one-stop border post have decried the sorry state of the truck's parking lot on the Ugandan side of the border. They say their plea for improved infrastructure has never been responded to for close to a decade.
Hapa nimeshindwa kutoka, wewe mwenyewe unaona kule niko kimbia kwamba angalau kule ni pabaya nije nitokee hapa.
I have tried to pass that side but failed. Thought it's better this side, only to find it's worse. We have complained for many years, but it seems those in authority are not concerned.
The situation is worsened by the persistent heavy downpour in the area. Although the one-stop border posts have helped in reducing the transit costs and time incurred in cross-border movement, challenges like this one waters down the otherwise worthy cause. They claim they are charged 4,000 Ugandan shillings to park here for a night, but often they end up spending more from repairing a broken down trailer or to be towed to safety.
Kama mnavyoona mazingira yetu haya kidogo yanakuwa na changamoto kwa sababu kama mnavyoona kuna maji kama hivi, magari kama haya. Sasa na magari sisi katika magari ambayo tuko nayo yanatofautiana.
You can see this place is not looking good at all. We have numerous challenges. You can see these potholes here are filled with water. Some of the trucks we drive have no deflow, so they sometimes get stuck and it costs time and money to have them back on the road.
Na mvua kama unavyoona msimu wa mvua hivi unavyonyesha kila siku ni mvua zinanyesha hapa. Kwa hiyo katika changamoto tunazozipata ni moja ni hilo.
On top of the infrastructure issue, the truckers have also raised concern about the poor state and inadequate amenities such as toilets and bathrooms.
The GULU level and Bongova locals in Ajia sub-county Arua district want government to intervene and save them from exploitation by the Meridian Tobacco Company factory planted in the area. Residents complain of the emissions and release of industrial waste from the factory that they say are affecting their health, that of their animals and growth of their crops.
In 2018-2019 financial years, the government of Uganda received additional financing at a tune of $360 million from the World Bank for a 5-year second phase of DOSAGE program in the country. The program has been extended to 11 refugee hosting districts of Ajomani, Moyo, Arua, Isingiro, Kamwenge, Terego, Madiokolo, Obongi and Lamo. USMID program targets to strengthen these local governments' cope with the refugee influx through providing rehabilitation and construction of infrastructure and development of physical development plans. While inspecting the 2.8-kilometer school and Adroa roads that cost 21 billion shillings, Commissioner for Urban Development in the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Walter Pade Joseph said, despite challenges imposed by COVID-19 pandemic, the so far USMID project in Arua City is encouraging.
But the ideas that we are getting from this program should actually act like a seed to be able to do many other things, including construction of roads.
Program coordinator for USMID, Dr. Isaac Motenyo, said USMID project is not meant to improve infrastructure alone, but to also strengthen institutional capacities of the municipalities and cities.
Procurement has been a nightmare because the way we approach procurement as entities, if we are not very careful, it brings a lot of complaints.
The program faces a challenge of right-of-way, which affected USMID project implementation process.
For instance, the roads you have prioritized now, let acquisition of right-of-way commence as soon as possible, so that by the time we say we are now starting with the project, we have got these issues of right-of-way sorted out.
Leaders of Arua City, however, said they have learned a lot from supervision by the PTC for their improvement in the next project implementation.
Where we have visible PPP engagements, it's through this capacity building and even the motivation to take some risks.
On the wrong political side and the positive politicians, they understood that sincerely in USMID program there is no compensation.
The 21 billion shilling school and Adroa roads were contracted in 2018 by China Railway's 7th Group Construction Company, with Joada Limited providing the consultancy service at 930 million shillings. Construction of the two roads, which was affected by coronavirus pandemic last year, is expected to be complete by June this year.
And Vivo Energy has expanded its Shell network service stations to 161 countrywide. This has been disclosed by Vivo Energy Managing Director Weber Gilbert Asi in a press conference at the official opening.
The expansion of Vivo Energy and increasing its network coverage nationwide aims at providing greater accessibility to Shell high-quality products. The Managing Director, Vivo Energy, Weber Gilbert Asi, says the expansion is to deliver more convenience to motorists and shoppers across the country. The expansion also aims at stimulating economic growth through creation of employment, both directly and indirectly through the various service stations.
We are trying to bring our services and products closer to customers across the country. That's why you see, not only have we launched at Shell Webaja, but there is now a new station in Tirini, Shell Tirini, a new station in Sembabule, Shell Sembabule, Shell Buloba also on the main highway. The reason for this is because services are quality products and quality fuels closer to.
An evolution in the Shell retail network from just fuel and oil purchase will provide a wider range of various service stations. The management of Vivo Energy says customers are now seeking for more convenient solutions and are working to turn the network of Shell service stations into retail destinations.
Today tastes like a new tradition, like an old favorite. Tastes like all hands on deck and all eyes on the prize. Today tastes like a piece of the action, and it never tasted this good.
In the world of sports, the national football team, the Cranes, has shared spoils with Burkina Faso in a goalless draw at the St. Mary's Chitende Stadium. Cranes came to these games second on the log, eyeing to unseat Burkina Faso that has been solid at the back throughout the game. A boring first half saw newly appointed head coach Abdallah Mubiru make changes with the introduction of Waiso Andodi and Fahad Bayo, producing pace into the game. Uganda missed numerous chances through Farouk Mia and Joseph Ochaya to grant Burkina Faso the much-needed draw in this game. The other game played in the same group, Malawi were 1-0 victors against South Sudan to pile pressure onto the Cranes. Now Burkina Faso are top of the table on 9 points, Uganda on 8, Malawi on 7, while South Sudan are bottom of the table. Focus is now on the last group game against Malawi over the weekend. Cranes will charter Uganda Airlines flight to Malawi as they seek direct qualification.
I'm happy with the boys at the moment, and I think if we carry on the momentum from this game.
Meanwhile, the tendency by the public to cut down trees and in turn destroy the environment has been strongly condemned by members of Uganda Nature Sports Federation. This was during celebrations for the International Forest Day at an occasion marked by a friendly football game.
Uganda has become famous for inventing new sports, with the latest being forest soccer, which is under the auspices of Uganda Nature Sports Federation. The federation has officially hosted its first competitive action, which coincided with the celebration of the World Forest Day.
We came out with this federation, we formed this federation. It has members, very many members, to play games in the forest. While the main purpose of this federation is to preserve nature, to protect and preserve nature. We play using games. So we play games in a forest kind of environment. That's why you see these drums. We mature trees in the drums and we bring them in the open pitches. If at all we don't use the natural forests, the planted trees.
The founding members plan to grow the sport to international level, but also think it's helpful to instill dribbling skills to those that play mainstream soccer. This initial Uganda Nature Sports Federation activity that almost aborted with the security officials questioning its relevance is to some one way of helping in conservation of nature.
I would like to request Ugandans to stop this habit of cutting down the trees, because we are going to create a desert in our country. Let us think about the youth and teach them what they are supposed to do, rather than leaving them and then we call them Bayaye and all sorts of names. They are becoming Bayaye because we have not educated them what we are supposed to do.
In the forest game played to coincide with celebrations to mark World Forest Day, Kampala Forest Club walloped Dundu Forest Club 6-0 in Wampeo. The federation isn't limited to soccer but also has forest marathon, forest sprint, forest cycling, tree hugging, horse riding and tree climbing lined up for Ugandans to embrace.
And that does it for news tonight. Thank you for sticking with us. Elizabeth Nakakoni on sign language. I am Rhoda Ngonzi. Have yourselves a lovely night.
Brought to you by
At Umeme, your safety is our top priority. Report illegal practices to Umeme when you detect them. Download the Umeme app for other services. Stay alert, stay safe, save lives. Umeme, powering Uganda.
Omulabi waffe omulungi nkwaniza nnyo nate wano ku UBC TV mu kaseera we tukutuusizaako embeera y'obudde. Nizanyo nate wano ku UBC TV mukaseera wetukutuusiza omwereza wonseri enkulu ekyagenda maaso n'okutonnya ebitundu by'eggwanga ebitali era weziweredde essaawa 3 ez'enkya ya leero Entebbe yabadde wezeza milimita 10.2, Kampala milimita 15.2, Kabale milimita 7 so nga ate mu Kasese zaweze milimita 2.5.
Professor and Mrs. Murindo Rutanga, together with the entire Rutanga family of Kaharo Kabale, wish to thank all of you immeasurably for the support, material, financial, psychological and moral, plus the consoling and comforting